Hi everyone. Today in this video we are going to see Shelley's Prometheus Unbound. I am Dr. Vinmayil, Assistant Professor of English, maybe Vanya Perumal College for Women, Virudhunagar. Prometheus Unbound was published in 1820. It is a drama which features a series of lyrics and choruses. That's why it is considered as one of the few great, subtle, philosophical poems in English. This drama tries to reconcile science with religion. That's why its protagonist, Prometheus, is considered as an ideal allegorical figure of progressive man who aspires to gain intellectual light and spiritual liberty. And this drama denounces the intolerance and tyranny of the church, which is the ideology Shelley has followed in his necessity of atheism. We could find some changes Shelley has made in the myth as written by Aeschylus. In Aeschylus' Prometheus Bound, we find Zeus as a tyrant. In Greek mythology and Hesiod and Homer's representation, we find Zeus as the supreme god who is highly respected by gods, demons, and mortal beings. But in Aeschylus' Prometheus Bound, we find Zeus as a tyrant, and there was a clash between the irresistible power of Zeus and the immovable will of Prometheus. Prometheus is considered as a revolutionary god who has violated the rules of Olympus. So we could find some variations from Homeric literature where we could see defying God is a supreme crime and it should have some inevitable punishment. And Shelley's Prometheus Unbound is a reply to Aeschylus. Aeschylus has written Prometheus Unbound, in which we could find Prometheus has reconciled with Jupiter. But Shelley, being a revolutionary poet, having a greater ideology in his mind, could not accept this reconciliation of the victim with his oppressor. So he presented Prometheus as a champion of mankind, one who opposes the oppressor. Prometheus, who has been enduring the sufferings and torments for more than 30,000 years, should be cherished by the human beings. Mankind should acknowledge the highest perfection of moral and intellectual nature of Prometheus. So he has personified mind of man, reason and the spirit of good in the form of his protagonist Prometheus. The characters in this drama are Prometheus, who is a titan, one of the oldest beings and a child of the earth. Due to the horrific punishment, he was imprisoned in a steep cliff, but he is steadfast in his resolve that giving humanity the knowledge of fire was morally correct. And then we have Zeus as Jupiter, the ruler of the gods. He is a tyrant god who rules the mortals through fear, and he is the one who denied humanity the knowledge of fire. Asia, Prometheus' wife, she is sister to Pantheon and Ion, the Ozonoids. Asia serves as a symbol of hope after the fall of Jupiter. Demogorgon, it is a spirit associated with the underworld. His parents are Jupiter and Thetis. Demogorgon is more powerful and throws Jupiter into the abyss to end his rule. Then we have Pantheon, who is Asia's sister and one of the Ozonoids. He stays by Prometheus' side whenever he feels depressed. She is the only one who offers some measures of comfort to him, and she is the one who passes message between Prometheus and Asia. Let's see the first act. The first act opens at ravine of icy rocks in the Indian Caucasus, where Prometheus was nailed to the rocks. Even though Prometheus is in shackles, he is completely undaunted. The play opens with the 3,000 years of sufferings which Prometheus has endured. So he laments over the pain. The hawk eats his liver. After enduring the pain, Prometheus loudly addresses Jupiter as the monarch of gods and demons, except Prometheus. He charges on Jupiter that he has given only fear, self-contempt and dejection as rewards of the humans' worship. And then he has narrated how he has been enduring 3,000 years of sleepless suffering, misery, scorn, despair, torture and solitude. The crawling glaciers pierced him with spears. And then the bright chains just eat him when it was so cold. And the heaven's winged hound, which is nothing but that hawk or the eagle, because of the order of Jupiter, just pierces his liver, which just tears up his heart. He could not see these shapeless sights, the ghostly people of the realm who are all mocking him for defying the supreme God. There is no cessation for his suffering, but he faces all this with calm fortitude. He invokes the earth and heaven to tell him whether mountains, sun, the waves of the sea which reflect the sky above, have not seen or heard or felt his agony. And Prometheus has cursed Jupiter after he was punished. And he wants to hear the curse once again. The 3000 years of pain has already killed the evil spirits of Prometheus. When he begged the elements of nature, nothing heeds to his words. So, nobody is ready to echo his curse in fear of Zeus. Then comes the voices of nature, which just explains why they could not repeat the curse. Out of fear to Jupiter's anger, the spirits of nature refused to repeat the curse as told by the earth. The first spirit, mountains, just expressed that the curse just creates a shock which is like earthquake, which can last for 900,000 years. As men convulsed with fears, we trembled in our multitude. That trembles, therefore the curse of Prometheus has created trembles in the mountains. And the spirits of springs come out to say that the curse has dried up the springs, hot springs, like the thunderbolts. Even the spring going further says that it has maddened the captain of the ship in the Indian Ocean, which has created him some shock, and finally he died. Thunderbolts had parched our water, it says. Thirdly, we have it says that since the birth of the earth, he has never heard such awful words. And fourthly, we have whirlwinds. The voice of the whirlwinds says, not even the flaming volcano, but the curse has silenced it. Next comes the Mother Earth, joins with the voices of nature, reiterates how the heaven above and the waves below and the fiercely blowing wind all echoed the misery behind the curse of Prometheus. But the voices have not told Prometheus what he wants to know so far. Prometheus complains of the ingratitude of the earth and the voices of nature for not repeating his curse. But the Mother Earth, being pity with her own son, communicates the curse in the silent language of the dead. Unfortunately, being God, Prometheus fails to understand the language of the dead. Now Mother Earth proudly says that Prometheus was born out of her bosom, and she has suggested one way to know about the curse. She advises Prometheus to summon up phantasm of Jupiter. and the earth calls upon the powers of nature to listen to the curse and rejoice to hear what they could not speak. In the curse, Prometheus condemns the power of Jupiter because it was Prometheus who has given the present power with which he could torture mankind and Prometheus. But he says that he would never surrender to the tyrant. But he cursed Jupiter would have to suffer ultimately because his soul would have been polluted with guilt of the crimes he have committed so far or in the near future too, before his fall. Ion is the only one who has confidence in the unconquerable spirit of Prometheus. But to Earth, this curse is a symptom of weakness, and Prometheus, on hearing the curse, finds it as a rash and idle outburst of anger. A robe of envenomed agony refers to the immortal life of Jupiter, and his omnipotence, the supreme power he possessed now, is cursed as a crown of pain by Prometheus. And next we could see the arrival of Mercury sent by Jupiter as a messenger. And Mercury is followed by a host of Furies. These Furies are snaky, having iron wings, who break out into an exclamation of delight at the prospect of chastising Prometheus. Their purpose to visit Prometheus is just for the chastisement of Prometheus. But Mercury drives back a greater part of them and allows only 4 of them to be present near Prometheus. The 4 of them are Gaian, Gargan, Chimera, and Sphinx. The message given by the Furies are, and as well as Jupiter is, Prometheus has to submit himself to Jupiter because resistance to the omnipotent Jupiter is completely a vain. And he was suggested to reveal the secret he knows about Jupiter in the form of prayer. Otherwise, Jupiter would suffer with great tortures at the hands of Furies. And Prometheus should arouse gratitude in the heart of Jupiter so that he could share some heavenly pleasures instead of enduring sufferings in this carcass. But Prometheus does not yield to the words of the Mercury and the Furies. He says that Jupiter could but requires me for his own misdeed. So the purpose of you visiting Prometheus by the Furies is to convey some messages as well as to convince Prometheus to surrender his unconquerable spirit. On hearing all the words of the Furies, Prometheus laughs at them. But the Furies persuade him by instilling some fear in him. They even try to excruciate pain in his nerves and bones. Prometheus could understand that they are trying to unsettle his calm mind, and they wanted to shock his heart by identifying the skinful desires in him that could rack his body and mind. They even go to the extreme level of describing horrible bloodshed and terrible shipwreck, famine that could bestow death and destruction to the mankind. But Prometheus, being steadfast in his ideologies, defies the pain and controls his mind. That's why Shelley writes, "Yet am I king over myself and rule the torturing and conflicting throngs within." Then the Furies have presented two visions of the two central tragedies of the world's history. The first one is the crucifixion of Christ. Christ, who has sacrificed his life for blood-soaked humanity, is shown vividly. And the chorus, the Furies explained the bloody view of Christ in crucified across the cross, and they insisted that his sacrifice only produces evil in humankind, where in future his teachings will be misused in his name only. Truth, peace and pity, which are the preachings of Christ, will be destroyed in wars and persecution for the sake of Christianity itself. The second vision is about French Revolution, which is the greatest revolution in the humankind against age-old tyranny. And here we could find the greatest sacrifice of Prometheus being turned into nothing in future. And it is told that the children of the revolutionaries will continue killing the people who are all in the support of despotism. So the revolution will continue till equality takes the place of despotism. Next we have the vision of six spirits which are conjured by earth to comfort her son who has been depressed after listening to the words of the chorus and the Furies. The first spirit is from the victorious cries of a revolutionary against a tyranny, and it foreshadows the future liberty and brotherhood which can change the futile life of human beings and which could bring brotherhood among them. The second spirit has come from a shipwrecked man's self. He has sacrificed his life for the sake of his enemies. So it foreshadows the future mutual forgiveness and reconciliation of the enemies. Thirdly, we have the spirit which has come from a sage's dream of an ancient punishment. It foreshadows the help which the past wisdom of mankind will give to successive ages in the progress towards perfection. The fourth spirit has come from the beautiful imagination of the poet. It foreshadows the consolation which poetry could ever given to the human race. Fifthly, we have the spirit which has flown over Europe, and he has seen the love's planet crystal shape, paving the world with the light and scattering the joy of life upon the free and new awakened France. But it has contrasted it with the awakened France with the advent of the reign of terror, when all that was the noblest, wisest, and truest in France were punished and perished. But he wandered on until he has met with the spectacle of Prometheus, the very symbol of love, oppressed by the power of evil. Sixth spirit just laments that under the rule of Jupiter, the sixth spirit laments over the rule of love, which has been changed into pain and dissolution under the rule of Jupiter. But the revolutionaries like Prometheus and French revolutionaries dream of some visions of joy for mankind. But all these hopes of these noble spirits have turned into pain and torture in the near future. After getting the prophecy of the spirits, Prometheus understood that there will be the downfall of evil, that is Jupiter, which will soon happen. So the spirits prophesied that Jupiter will be vanquished by the unconquerable spirit of Prometheus. And when Prometheus asked the spirits to explain how they know the coming event of the downfall of Jupiter, they replied that the struggling birth of wisdom, justice, and love in the French Revolution are the presentiments of the downfall of evil. Prometheus gets depressed even after getting a positive prophecy from the spirits because he thinks of the society in which Asia is living and he has once lived with her. And Panthea has come to console him and then leaves to meet Asia across the Himalayan mountains. Thank you one and all for your patient listen. We can meet you in the Act 2.